Debrena Jackson Gandy, how are you?
Marvelous.
Yay.
Fabulous.
So we are on a
I mean,
journey.
I'm still answering.
Oh, sorry. You're marvelous, and
Tremendous and amazing. Okay, proceed.
Debrena, we started out talking about how grateful I am for you. My level of gratitude to have you in my life exceeds words, right? We could have session after session after session of me just saying how grateful I am and how my transformation has been due to your ability to lovingly create a space for me to feel comfortable, unjudged, right, loved, elevated. So now I can take people on a similar journey of transformation, but I had to have it too. We talk about you can't take people on a place where you haven't gone. You can talk about professional development, but transformation, what we're going to talk about today, transforming our beliefs, is about digging. It's about going deep. And you help me lovingly help me. And I'm going to reveal some of those. We're going to talk about what that looks like for people. But tell me, we'll talk again just real quick about this concept of transformation and why and how our beliefs are so powerful when it comes to this journey of transformation.
Yes. Well, our conventional, motivational, personal development, and even therapeutic models usually start or stop with thoughts. And transformational work, however, means you are now exploring the inner forms because we're talking about transforming. Well, what are we transforming? The innermost, most foundational seed thoughts or core programming that we are in this space calling beliefs. So we're going beyond the place that many other models stop. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Reflect, reflect, reflect. Those are all questions at the thought level. But what gives rise to the thoughts that we're reflecting on? So that's where the real power for permanent change lives. Because you can change your thoughts, but the beliefs that gave rise to the thoughts are still firing and informing and, feeding the thoughts. And then you can backslide or regress. But when you've done the clean out and the changing of the inner forms, then you become a new creature. Once the caterpillar becomes transformed into a butterfly, it cannot go back to caterpillar. So that is the power of transformation. It creates new creatures, new beings, the new man, the new woman.
Yes.
Lay aside the old. Scripture talks about be ye transformed. So yes, powerful and necessary and timely work.
Necessary, people. So we're leading a series called the Getting Better Together, right? It's an empowerment and a healing series, but it's all about transformation. And I love how you're like, look, we can't talk about transformation unless you're truly doing transformational work. And so we've designed this 6-week series, which we're integrating with several of the programs I've done, several of the certifications I have, several of the trainings, but we're layering on Debrena, and we're layering on Dr. Linda Smith, who has a PhD in transformational leadership. We're layering on Pastor Braxton, who is all about is a visionary and has so many other skills. And we're layering on community. This is a community empowerment and healing circle. So, like you said, there's so many different angles that we're coming at this from, but it's all scientifically based, research proven. But it's also we're bringing in this more spiritual, loving side that said this is about you loving you and you creating a space where you can truly live powerfully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let us remember that science is really a quantification of the spiritual. So, and it's spiritual, scientific are right up there next to each other. And so you can't talk about transformation unless you bring in all aspects of the human. And we also have a indwelling spirit. Now, this culture doesn't address that. It says that the material, the senses, the things that measure physicality are what's legit and real, even though we claim to be a Christian nation. So there's a whole bunch of hypocrisy and contradiction that we have been fed. So when you are talking about transformation, you are acknowledging how we are made as humans. You're not leaving any part out. And so many of the models that we've been operating from leave out the spirit because we think it's religious instead of it being about the design of human. And so that's a distinction also of transformational work versus motivational. That might involve your thoughts or might involve a change in behavior.
Yes.
What about the spirit? Oh, it's not addressed. So transformation is the whole person.
Yes, yes, I'm so excited. So, two things. Last week, during our session, we talked about the different levels of awareness. We talked about 3 levels of awareness. So, really, this whole transformational experience includes us, being more aware of for ourselves. So we call it self awareness. How we showing up? What level of integrity, we showing up for ourselves. But then we also talked about how are other people experiencing us. And then we said that's level 2 of awareness, right? We're aware of how we show up, who we are for ourselves, how other people experience us. And level 3 of awareness is really this concept of I'm aware, and now I want to choose differently. We call that intercepting the saboteurs. That's some of the language I bring in with positive intelligence, right? So you can have awareness. Again, think about the goals you want to accomplish. Where are you at? Where do you get stuck? Right? We spent a little time in the first 2 weeks talking about where we get stuck, right? How we get stuck, why we get stuck, and how we get unstuck, right? As well. So again, we're laying it out. We're like taking our time. We're working this system so that you have everything you need to survive and to thrive. So, Debrena, talking about 3 levels of awareness and then moving into beliefs. Let's talk about that journey and why we're doing it the way we are with this level of intentionality.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, most of the models that have prevailed in, this Western American culture have taken us as far as being aware of our thoughts. And that has been considered, very progressive to not just be looking at behavior, but now be looking at thoughts. Well, now the new era of going beyond thoughts to now what sources and informs the thoughts that then inform the emotions and the actions, and over time, what we call the behaviors. And beliefs operate like our personal software. So, the same way you can have the hardware of a computer, it's really the software. You can have your physical cell phone, but it's the software that's powering it and determining the functions of it. Well, using that same metaphor, well, what is the software for a human? Our beliefs.
Yes.
And we all have a unique and different combination of them. And we have them in every life area. So whether it's about money or God or sex or love relationships or success, the list goes on, our body temple. But rarely do we stop to do the uncovering and what I call excavation work to be aware of the beliefs that are running our lives. We think we are. No,
Yes.
our beliefs are. The software is running our lives. Our personal belief software is running our lives. And so when you get to that level and you do the uncovering excavation work, first of all, there's usually a huge aha to even know what's been going on in the invisible beneath the surface beyond my eye level. It's like, wait, what? And when you uncover your beliefs and you identify them, which can be some new work for most of us, things start to make sense now, and you start to have an understanding of the connection of things and why certain patterns and dynamics have been going on in your life. When you get to the belief level, it solves a lot of the mystery, but it's also where the power is. So yes, there's identifying and uncovering those beliefs and then looking at what they've created in your life, and then know that you can install new and different beliefs. That's a process. But that's what's so powerful. And the
Yes.
absolute incredible shifts and changes, deep change that occur when people are doing their belief work. That's the crux of transformation.
Yes, yes. And so that's really what today is about. Today we're focusing on transforming our beliefs,
Mm.
right? And so when you think about we call it the five core drivers of the human experience, right? Some people call it the belief cycle. But if beliefs are at the foundation of every transformation as human, since our beliefs lead to our thoughts. It's our thoughts that lead to our feelings. And it's our feelings that lead to our actions or inactions. And it's those actions that lead to the experiences or the behaviors or the results in our lives. So you can see the beliefs is where it all starts. People, like she said, we talk about thoughts, we talk about feelings. You go to therapy, you want to talk about your feelings. You can talk about actions. I just want to do something different. I want to jump up and down and get excited about doing something different. Yes, all important. But if you're not going to the core, the root, if this was a tree and these were the limbs, the beliefs are the roots, right? So we're going to the core, root cause analysis,
Yeah.
looking at those beliefs and giving us a space so that the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the experiences or the results, the behaviors that are showing up are really what we're focused on as a part of this experience. And so I could not be more excited that we get to take the time to really get people to understand that, first of all, right? And then to say, okay, now I understand. Now let's do the work. So now, Debrena, are you ready to do some work?
I'm always ready to do.
So I'm an amazing transformational coach and you're my transformational coach. So I'm willing to put some of my own personal experience out there because we're going to try to model a little bit about what transparency looks like, but also to make sure people aren't just thinking a thought is a belief, right? So we're going to talk through that a little bit and just kind of take people on a journey. So we talked about what a belief is. We talked about the importance of beliefs. And so if you had to think about beliefs, I like one time we were in one of your sessions and you said, and I love the language and now I use it all the time because it's really kind of it's really the most important way to get people to understand belief. You call them patterns, right? It's the patterns of how people show up. But you say it's like the wind with my tree analogy. If the roots are the beliefs are the roots, and all the other elements, right? The thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the results. All that stuff is what happens based on the beliefs. The wind, is kind of a representation, right? The wind is there. You can't see the wind, just like you can't see a belief, but you can see the leaves blowing. So you're like, oh, the wind's going to the east. You see a flag moving, right? So it's like you can't really see a belief, but it's there because of what's happening. The same way you can't see. Most of us aren't clear what our beliefs are, but we have these thoughts, we have these feelings, we have these actions or inactions. Why don't I go to the gym? It's your beliefs about it. Let's go deep, right? Right? Why does this person trigger me so much? It's not about what you're thinking, right? Why are these? So all the questions you have about those four other elements, it's because of the beliefs. It's because of that. The wind is blowing, and so we got to go deep. Talk about the going deep to read it. Well, people don't want to, but let's go deep. Let's go deep now, shall we?
Well, it really is that we have weak muscles in going deep. So then when it comes time to do it, it's like trying to lift an 80-pound weight, but your muscles have only been built up to 5 pounds.
Right.
So you gotta work the muscle. And so going beyond thoughts to beliefs is like the 80-pound weight. And a lot of us have never lifted that and haven't prepared ourselves to lift that. But that's what needs lifting now. So we get to lean in. And so, like you were laying it out, you said it's deeper work. So how do we begin to get close to even know where to dig to unearth our beliefs? Well, because they're invisible, like that analogy you gave that I gave, and of the wind, the wind is real, but you can't see it because the effects are everywhere. When you see, leaves blow down the street and a sign topple over, it's like the effect of it is real, though my eyeball may not be able to see the wind itself. Same thing with beliefs. So how do you start to move in closer on those? Start with a life area. We have many life areas, right? We have mental, physical, spiritual, relational, wellness, financial, the list goes on. So start with a life area that to you would really like to be more effective in, you would like to be better in. You feel you may have stalled out or hit a plateau, or you continue operating under a certain ceiling or level and you're ready to go beyond. Choose a life area. Then sit down, and I say sit down, which means stop all the activity, focus in on this, aka sit down, and chronicle the patterns you notice in that life area. Just the patterns, not the good ones, not the bad ones, just the patterns. Like a video camera, just recording patterns. Write it down. What are the patterns? Why do the patterns matter? Because they're not just a one-time anomaly occurrence. A pattern means it's recurring, right? It's showing up more than once. Patterns become signposts to help point the way to those invisible beliefs. They're real. They're held within us. They're held within the mind because of the amount of energy around it and the patterning of our synapses and dendrites and the flow of energy in our minds that are called ideas and thoughts. So there's a lot of aggregating of energy around what we would call beliefs. So patterns will help us begin to see, what are the beliefs I'm holding? What are the beliefs I didn't even know got installed? And then it helps you get closer and closer to being able to put language on what those beliefs are. One of the ways to go deeper after you look at those patterns, you start putting forth some ideas about what might be going on. Most people, they're putting forth thoughts. So one of the ways to go deeper and not just stay at thought recycling, but go to the core level, is you put the word because on the end of the thought statement. So let's say someone says, I want to release weight. Or let's say there's always more month than money, and it's been a long time, and they write down their patterns with money and say, take a look at the patterns. What might be, let's start with a belief. There's more than one. A belief you could be holding that create and generate these patterns for you with money. There's not enough. That's a thought. How do I know that's a thought and not a belief yet? Because the word not, or a version of not, is in the language. That's an indicator that you're still at the thought level. So there's not enough for me. We're making it personal now. Because. And then you think about, how do I want that statement to end for it to be true for me, consistent with how I've been showing up with money. So that is a technique you can use to help you go deeper. And you might get to a belief, I deserve the leftovers. Oh my God. So now I've been experiencing leftovers with money, the scraps. I've been experiencing leftovers in my love relationships. It could even bleed over to other areas. So now you can work with that. It's like, I didn't even know. I don't deserve the best, the choicest, the juiciest, the prime. I deserve the leftovers. Where did that come from? Now, that's a whole nother form of transformational work called forgiveness work, where you start to clean and clear out what surrounded when that got installed. and the emotions around living from I deserve the leftovers. That's the forgiveness work. Get us back to a state of freedom. But those are some examples. That's an example, Dr. Traci, of how to start doing the belief work. And that would just be one life area and one belief. We have more than one belief operating in a life area, then we have more than one life area. That's why you got to develop the muscle, or get them developed as you're doing the work.
Sorry, you've said that belief work is so important. It's so powerful, and I've done it with so many individuals where it's like, you know what? I've had people say, I don't remember who I was when I used to think this way. Like after we've had these transformational coaching sessions, I coach other coaches as well. One guy, ex-Marine, Michael Brown was his name. He's like, use me anytime, like bring me into any call. But he's like, Traci, I think of you every day because it burdened me that he had never, he said it was burdened because he'd never gone into battle. He used to train other people in the military, other leaders, but he had never gone in. So when people would say, thank you for your service, he said, I felt like an imposter, even though he trained thousands of people who went into who actually went into battle. It's not like he avoided going. It's just his skill was training. That was what he did. And so as we work through that belief, right, he's like, wow, I show up and I take it in, like it washes over me. I get to retroactively love upon myself as a young man. Like this probably started when he was like, as he was moving into, the opportunities to serve and what, but it's like those beliefs show up so deeply. So you were in the session with,
but hang on, yes. Hold your thought.
Okay. Thank you.
So the reason that Michael, this is so good. The reason that Michael felt like a phony when he would hear thank you for your service is he had a belief that service equals field battle. You see?
Exactly.
He had a belief that he was inserting about service that had him feel like I don't qualify. So then you're like, well, where did that come from?
Exactly.
Because if service means battle, that means nurses at a hospital didn't serve. That means, you know what I'm saying? Like, what? I didn't even think about that. That means the only people served were on the field, but there's equipment, people that are bringing it in on big ships. They're not doing field battle, but they're bringing in the tanks and the artillery for those. So that means they didn't start, so when you start like, oh my God, but that belief was constricting him. It was affecting his self-esteem.
Totally.
Having him accumulate feelings of being a phony that had built up in his system. And that was just one belief. Service equals battle.
And he had awards on the wall, Debrena. I was like, now he said, I see that he had awards, he had all the things, and none of it mattered until we got, and it took less than an hour. He was a coach too. It don't take people say it takes a lifetime for transformation. It really doesn't, right? It can, it's right? Depending on where you
process, but
it's a process.
It can happen in an instant.
There you go. When you have those breakthroughs, it's like, whew, such the weight is released. Right? You're feeling like you were a new being when your beliefs changed. Yeah. He said, you can't tell me nothing. He had tattoos that were like, I don't know, awesome and what, like, okay. He didn't even believe those. And now he is like, I think of you every day.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. But I say, like, we can transform. So when I got the opportunity to do anything, which we could have done with this funding related to, the work I do in life, right? I could be in corporate, I could still be there, I could be doing whatever. But when I say I want to show up in my full glory, like this opportunity to help people transform in a way that will allow them to live powerfully and to do it with others, because it's better. right? When we do it together, it's like, oh my God, talk about me living powerfully, but you've helped me be even more powerful. And I'm on the journey. It's an ongoing journey, but
Yeah.
just this idea of showing up in a way that allows us to understand our thoughts, understand our thoughts, emotions, understand the feelings, the patterns that Debrena talked about, like the step one in us creating the life that we love and creating the dreams, helping to manifest our dreams, is really looking at the patterns, looking at what shows up every day in your life as it relates to that life area, as it relates to that particular goal, right? Being able to look at where you have been successful and where you have not. So when you're looking at patterns, Debrena, we have to break it down real quick, because looking at patterns, we often make excuses. I know how to write. I'm brilliant, so I can rationalize my accountability for patterns, and not necessarily take full accountability for that. So let's talk about the importance of looking at patterns without judgment, right? And not rationalizing, not making excuses. But let's talk about that beautiful journey of truly looking at our patterns and taking accountability. I guess really looking at maybe it's more about this concept of awareness, getting more aware of those patterns. And then we talked about awareness last week, being aware of yourself, how you impact others, and what you're going to do about it. Once you know, what are you going to do about that pattern? How are you going to choose differently? How are you going to intercept that saboteur?
Right. So this is good about patterns, because we are so used to putting an opinion, inserting rationalizations, inserting justifications, and inserting explanations. We're not talking about any of that. What we're talking about, we'll go back to the wellness piece. Okay, let's say I'm 60 pounds overweight, and I say that I want to go to the gym and start lifting weights, and then I look up and I went once in 4 months, and it's like, okay, hang on. So let's look at patterns. So it's not, well, I meant to go more, but things got busy. That's an excuse. We're not talking about writing down excuses. What's the pattern? I went once in 2 weeks. Another time I went 3 times in a week, but then I had a 5-week break. Just share the facts of the pattern, not your judgments about it or trying to explain why the pattern happened. So then it allows you to look at the patterns and say, now these patterns are a function of something. The thoughts that had me exhibit this behavior arose from somewhere. They were informed by something. What do these patterns point the way to? And those beliefs underneath those patterns could be one thing for one person that's had the patterns, but over here there's another belief for a second person. Someone could have a belief about exercise and movement. Someone else might have a belief about their body. Someone else could have a belief about if I am slimmer, and there might be some negative associations. They don't even know they're holding a belief that have them avoid getting slimmer, because maybe they had more attention. If they were a woman, maybe they had more attention from men and they had a bad experience. They don't even know there's a belief underneath them not getting to the gym that is really for their self-preservation in their unhealed state. But for their self-preservation, if they think getting slimmer means I will be more endangered and receive more unwanted attention. So patterns help us begin to, there was a game that I would play when I was little where somebody would hide something and not tell anybody where it was hidden. And then everybody would say, am I getting warmer? And if you're moving closer to it, you say, you're getting warmer, you're getting warmer, you're getting hot. If you moved in a direction that took you further away from whatever was hidden by the person who's you're getting colder. And so the goal was who found the thing first with that feedback from the person who hid it. So patterns are like that. You're getting warmer, you're getting warmer. And as we start to think about the thoughts and then go deeper to, okay, but what might the falsehoods that to me have been acting like a truth, which is what our beliefs are. What is the messaging underneath that? And then what's the messaging underneath that? And what's the messaging under? He could look at his patterns, right? He'd get a compliment, he'd feel it was not valid, the bar. He would look at his awards and he would go into a feeling of disdain inside. He has patterns. They were pointing the way to a belief among probably several that service equals doing field battle. That's what's legit service. Legit service is doing field battle. That was a belief he had that informed the thoughts, the feelings, the imposter syndrome thinking, all that. And so then he can begin to dismantle that and also clean out of his system using forgiveness work the emotions that have been building up around that lie called a belief. True service is doing field battle. Service is doing field battle. Legitimate service is field battle. And he then can choose to install new beliefs once he cleans all the gunk around the old one out. Then he gets to decide, what is the new belief that gives me more freedom, that gives me more joy, brings me more joy. And then he makes a decision to install that and to begin to train his mind and his thoughts and his emotions in alignment with the new belief until it can take root and germinate and start to grow a new plant that yields new and different fruit. So we have a lot of natural metaphors that teach us about this process of planting new things, because we are like that fertile soil in a garden or field. You can plant new things in fertile soil and new fruit can be yielded. And that whole process of the belief work is very similar to a natural planting, uprooting of the old, the weeds, planting of new plants that yield juicy fruit. Very similar process.
So I love everything about you. You already know that. when you talk about and I'm putting in the chat, y'all, some of the key elements from this wonderful conversation. When you talk about dismantling the false beliefs, because again, these are things that we have decided are true. Like we've decided that something is true. It's a belief and it leads to our thoughts, emotions, right? All of that. And so we get to decide it's not true. Not only is it not true, it is the opposite of the truth most of the time, right? What's really true is, so I heard you say we can dismantle by saying this false belief isn't true, being clear, and then installing new beliefs, right? So that concept, there's work in between, which we're going to do week 4, week 5 rather, this work around getting some of the emotions that are attached to that old belief, some of the things that used to keep us stuck, but just identifying this one is false and actually this one is true. Talk a little bit about that's the power of self-command. Because you think about it, if you're 50 years old, then some of those thoughts you've driven some grooves that have been there for a while, meaning you have some habits, right? Your brain is going to naturally go to a place, but when you do the work to say, hey, that's actually not true, and it's so not true, right? Then you do the forgiveness, and you're able to say, whenever I even begin to go down that path, I'm going to shift to the new belief. I'm going to focus on the new belief. I'm going to shut down that old belief because I just know it's not true. So let's talk about that agency that comes with us being able to shut down a belief that we know isn't true and choosing a belief that is.
Yeah. Well, in these final literally couple of minutes that I have with you, just to underscore what you said, everything about how we are engineered, designed, and made by a loving creator equips us to be able to do what you just said. So isn't it amazing that all of the necessary equipping is there. It's provided. It's in place. Now we get to activate it. Now we get to put a demand on it. Now we get to invoke it. So everything that you just laid out, boom, 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 being able to stop, choose differently, right? Being able to shift my energy and attention. It's like looking at a painting on a wall in a museum, and each time you came in the museum, you stopped and you looked at that painting and you said, on the other side of new beliefs being installed, it's like, I never really even liked that painting. I settled, but now I can look at a different painting, and you literally shift your attention to another piece of art across the room and you move toward that. I have the ability to turn my head. I have the ability to redirect my attention energy, and I have the ability to walk myself closer to the new art I'm now going to allow to take up that visual space. But it is that simple. It takes some time and some working the muscles, but it is like that with beliefs. It's like, no, that's the belief you were parked in front of before that you gave energy to, that was informing you. We clipped the wires on that. So now let's shift our attention and let's create a new groove called walk across the room over to this other painting. And guess what? The next time you come in, where do you go? You go to the new painting that you really love. All fully, no compromises. And memory of that old painting, you can look over there and still go, I remember when. It has no power, though.
It has no power.
It has no power because you've cut all the mechanisms that gave it power. You've gone through your process. You've gone through your forgiveness work, which helps to cut the cords of attachment to the old painting. So now the new painting is your new norm, and you feel comfortable and you're appreciating being in front of it and being with. Same metaphoric journey when we are doing belief work. We're simplifying it, of course, but the point is that we are built and equipped and prepared with that which allows us to engage in this powerful transformational work. Now, more of us get to say yes to it. More of us get to say yes to working the muscles and being facilitated through it, and to lean in and to move into some new personal territory, going beyond what the conventional models in this Western American culture, where they take us and saying, I want more, I want to go deeper, I want to really crack the code on more of my true power and joy and full self-expression. I know it's available to me because I'm equipped and built to be able to architect a new reality for myself. I'm going to lean in and allow myself to be led by those who have gone before me or who have greater understanding. And all I need to do is be teachable and coachable and ready.
Debrena, thank you so much. We're talking about transforming beliefs this week, and next week we're going to focus on forgiveness. Anything you want to say about forgiveness as we go? It's big. It's huge.
Here's the definition of forgiveness according to Debrena Jackson Gandy. It is personal liberation work. Personal liberation work. And the fruit of personal liberation work is freedom and fuller self-expression. That's what really forgiveness is. It's a personal spiritual technology that gives you more freedom, liberation, and fuller self-expression. Who isn't interested in that? But we've had some missing things.
Drop the mic, ladies.
Bad information that have had us avoiding it. Now we get to learn how to lean in.
Lean in, baby. Debrena, I love you. Truly, I love you. Leaning into true transformation. Mwah. I love you so much. So y'all will be back. We're continuing the series Mondays at 6 p.m. We'll do some recap, kind of work before 6 p.m. so you can join in a little early. But the new work for this week is going to be about transforming our beliefs. Join us. Thank you, Debrena.
Love you. Peace.